Hello and welcome to the first ever Lubricant Expo Middle East webinar. The subject of today is overcoming lubricant supply chain disruption, managing uncertainty and building industry resilience. We're pleased to say that well over 160 people have registered to attend today's event. This is an interactive session, so please do use the Q&A function in the Teams box at the top of your screen. The recording will be made available to yourself and colleagues that couldn't attend after the event itself. I will now hand over to our moderator, Bhupinder Singh.
Thank you, Callum. Am I audible?
Yes.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Callum, for the handing over the mic, and let me introduce myself. I am Bhupinder and I have spent around 30 years working across the global lubricants, base oil and additive industry, primarily across Asia, Middle East and Africa. And over the course of my career, I have worked with organizations such as Castrol, British Petroleum, Bahrain Petroleum Company, Duckems, and now currently with Bluechem Group, where my focus has been on turnarounds, building markets, developing international business. And my experience sit at the intersection of supply chain, formulation, market dynamics, operations, which gives me practical perspective on how this industry actually operates, especially in times of disruption. Along with my professional role, I also run lubricant specialist platform on LinkedIn, which has grown to be one of the largest communities in this sector, connecting professionals across the entire value chain. And currently there are 36,500 members from our field only. And I'm looking forward to today's discussion and more importantly on hearing real perspective across the value chain on how the industry is adapting to the challenges we are facing. So let me start with simple but uncomfortable question. Has the lubricant industry become too dependent on stability? Everything once assumed predictable is now under pressure. Base oil flows are inconsistent, logistics are unreliable, and adaptive systems are being tested beyond their original limits. So this is not merely disruption, it's a stress test of entire system. And the shift is very clear. The industry is moving from efficiency to resilience, from cost optimization to supply security. So the question is no longer what is happening, but what the system is believing about its own weakness and what must change if this becomes the new normal. So let me bring in our panel. Joining us today, we have representation across the value chain. Lutfi Sayed is from blending and formulation. He's the owner of a plant. Nikhil Agrawal is from trading and supply chain background. Mr. Wazahat Muzaffar is from manufacturing plant of GP Petroleum, and Eric Zuheimer is from additive and technical systems. So over to our distinguished panelists. So I'll request first Mr. Lutfi to come on board and introduce himself. Over to Mr. Lutfi.
Thank you, Bhupinder, for this introduction. My name is Lutfi. I am managing the company Oscar Lubricants, which is one of the serious lubricant blenders in the UAE, exporting to 86 countries today. Myself, I have a technical education background, and I am today overseeing the operations, the supply chain, and the development of the company for the past almost 13 years. So I'll try to give a little bit of what I can offer today from my modest experience.
Thank you, Lutfi. Thank you for your introduction. We look forward for your valuable inputs. And then let's move on to our next panelist, who is Mr. Nikhil Agarwal. Mr. Nikhil Agarwal, over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. And our elite group, a lot of participants from the industry. I'm Nikhil and I'm based out of UAE. We are primarily into base oil trading. My past association is with Total, Elf Lubricants, and then I moved on to Reliance Industries, a very long stint in different stream from refinery to retail gas stations setup and to 100% EOU, Jamnagar 2 refinery offtake and European market, Germany, and a lot of places in the Europe we were handling. Then we moved on to UAE, and from last 14 years, we are here, base oil trader, and in touch with each and every blender here and in various continents associated with primarily all major refineries.
Great. Thank you for elaborate introduction, Nikhil. Let's move over to Mr. Eric. Over to you, Eric.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Eric Zutheimer. Already 15 years also in the business, lubricant primarily. And in the last 4 years, we built up one of the major suppliers in the region for additive packages and focusing ourselves to develop it now. And yeah, I'm happy to share my thoughts on this topic now and this crisis. And yeah, let's see what we will end up with.
Great. Look forward for the discussion, Eric. Thank you for introduction. Over to Mr. Heather.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, my colleagues out here. My name Sweet. Did you lose me? I think I got cut for a second.
Yeah, we lost you, and if you can reintroduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Heather. I am the director for General Petroleum, which lubricants in 50 plus countries. I have a vast experience in understanding supply chain because that's what I've studied out of University of Warwick. And furthermore, I've been part of the group and selling their product in multiple parts of the world, from North America to Australasia. So I will do my best to give whatever I can and of my knowledge of experience to help and talk about this resilience that we're looking into.
Thank you, Wazahat. So we have an excellent panel. Thank you for a lovely introduction. So moving on to our webinar, looking at the current challenges. My first question is to you, Nikhil. Nikhil, based on what you are seeing across the market, what is actually driving the current disruption? Is it physical shortage, logistics constraints, or allocation behavior? Over to you, Nikhil.
Yeah, thank you, Bhupinder. See, I'll give you a brief. From last 16 days, a lot of things have happened across the globe, and we have seen volatile behavior on the flat side also. But actually on the ground, what we are facing difficulties in Middle East and what is happening outside is a little bit different stories. We have seen from last 60 days, there is no inward of any group 2 in this Middle East region, specifically in the United Arab Emirates or neighboring countries. And that leads to major supply chain breakdown. What is available here is only group 2s and group 3s. Group 3 is only from the ADNOC side, and we see the supply disruption from the BAPCO and GTL also is now, both are out of supply for next 1.5 years. So what we see, there is a real supply disruption, and Koreans could not supply anything in this region. Whatever they are offering, that is for Far East Asia or to Europe and US. So this industry in Middle East is basically managing with the group 1s, which was the inventory already available within the country, and group 3s, which is available from the ADNOC side. So this is the practically happening, and that is the reality. people might say the refineries are not giving the stock or they are just creating shortage, but crude has gone up. Today it is hovering at a very high levels, and that is the reason they are shifting their production slates to fuel. You see diesel is hovering around 1350. So they are just managing the permutation combination, and because of that, production of base oil is going down, and that is reflecting in their FOB numbers across the globe.
Very true. And building on that, the current crude is hovering around today. The price is probably around 120, 200, probably more. And looking at that, it is more profitable to focus on the fuel side than on the base oil slate side. So building on that, who is getting the priority allocation today? Is it long-term buyers or large buyers or those who are willing to pay the premium for the base oil, according to you?
What we have seen in Middle East from the ADNOC side, they are giving priorities to the term contract people first. But on that too, rationing is happening. Whatever they are desired, that quantity is not allocated, then the spot things come into picture. Same thing is happening in the Korean refinery side also. Term contract people are given priorities, and then spot is coming into place. Obviously, spot numbers are relatively higher vis-a-vis term contract prices, and that is reflecting on the FOB numbers which you get from GS Caltex or HSB or anywhere. Although HSB is under maintenance, but GS is giving numbers which is the realistic numbers which are available on FOB basis as of yesterday. So you see these things will go on, and as crude is inching up, we will see much higher numbers in coming days.
Adding on more to it, Nikhil, looking at the ground realities, how much is the difference between the spot and the term for base oil group 3, let's say 4 or 6 or 8 centi-stroke in terms of absolute dollar value? Not the price of base oil, but the price differential between.
As far as Middle East is there, you can consider $100 to $200 difference from spot to term.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for your valuable inputs, Nikhil. Now moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Lutfi. Mr. Lutfi, from what you are observing across blending operations, what is the biggest constraint today in your operations? Is it base oil availability? Is it additive limitations or the logistics delay? Over to you, Mr. Lutfi.
So from my perspective as a blender, I can say it's a mix of everything you mentioned, and this is why it's very complicated. I need to mention that we were living in an era and in a country where we were spoiled as a blender. So availability of all base oils, additives, competitive prices. Jabal Ali port was a unique port with the easiness of import and export. Today, you have as a blender, you have the physical disruption. So the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Vessels are not coming, you cannot export easily, you need to choose alternative ports, and the cost is higher. But more importantly is how impossible it is to predict prices. So when you are not able to predict price and get a firm price on your supply, you cannot commit on the performance, on the orders. You are obliged to reduce the validity of the orders and the quotes. So it becomes very complicated to commit on an order that you will deliver in 30 or 45 days because volatility of prices. From the base oil perspective, I did not see a real problem except for the group 2. The rest I see availability. Prices are higher, obviously, but this is the case for all blenders in the world. It will follow this trend. The group 2 is a real problem, and additives is even more problematic today. So you have the major suppliers that are not able to commit on orders, cannot ship from Europe. And this is where I think it's going to be very problematic for blenders.
Great. Thank you for your valuable inputs. And in fact, in the previous discussion, Nikhil also pointed out about the group 2 non-availability. So my question, another question to you is, now if that group 2 you are using in your formulation, can that be interchange with a combination of group 1 and group 3?
So technically, we need to validate this claim for sure, but we need to be practical today and realistic. Before it was thinking, if you ask me a few weeks ago, having group 3 as group 2 as the replacement of group 3 would have been the right option. Today is the other way around because group 2 is not available, and if you see the delta between the two, it is very, very, very small. Group 3 is available. Blending it with group 1, there is technical limitations to create a kind of group 2. You need to look at the NOAC, how it is affected. You need to look at the oxidation, if it is similar. But we need to be honest and practical today. We need to find solutions. So I don't see a problem having an alternative to group 2 in a technical way that should be validated in the laboratory.
Great. Now, adding on to this, how frequently are the formulations being adjusted across the market? And are current approval flexible enough to support this?
So approvals are have a limited flexibility that you can play with, but today you don't have all these options available. But again, you need to work closely with the additive supplier to revalidate the claim of the approval, and they are open-minded and accepting this discussion. And by the way, the UAE, most of the blenders in UAE had this flexibility even before this crisis. So we had a multitude of options in terms of base oil and refineries. Again, we were spoiled with options. So there was already this mentality of interchangeability, of flexibility, as long as you can claim in the laboratory, either by yourself as a blender or through the help of the supplier. But yes, we need to be practical today and do this exercise.
Absolutely. In fact, API also has issued some emergency levy to the OEM approval process in ILMA. You must have heard that. Yes, the situation is quite drastic. Then thank you for your valuable input, Lutfi. Now moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Eric. Eric, from an additive perspective, what is the key constraint today? Is it availability or system rigidity or the response time? Over to you, Eric.
Yeah, as already told, everything is disrupted. There is no ideal place in the world at the moment, but I would argue that the UAE is still the best place. And our advantages in front of the rest of the market are just so much that the only thing what you need to organize is your supply chains. You can do this by stock, you can do this by faster shipment, you can do this by having warehouses in place where you can stock them nearer to your factory, for example, Oman. We are using a combination of things, and we're doing quite well now. We are feeling that the rest of the market is much more disrupted than us. And yes, I think it's a very good time to be in the UAE right now. I believe this.
Very, very well said. And Eric, how well are the additive systems performing when base oil condition move to outside their design range?
Here in the GCC, to be honest, I don't feel any major disruption. I don't see it. Everything is still available, of course, not like before. Before, you need to understand. You can ask Mr. Nikhil. One phone call and the truck comes in 2 hours. This was our reality before. Now, of course, you need to plan a little bit. You need stocks. You need to, think, organize cash flow, organize money. This is important right now. You need to keep sufficient stock. You need to buy everything. You need to have very good agreements in place. And I think all the gentlemen here in this board, I don't think that anybody of them will say that this is, any difficulty right now.
Absolutely. Thank you for your inputs, Eric. Moving on to my next panelist, Mr. Wazahat. Mr. Wazahat, from the market side, what has changed the most? Is it availability, pricing, or customer behavior? Over to you, Mr. Wazahat.
I mean, there's two ways to look at it, right? There's obviously brand-based business? Because I mean, I've been a very positive thinker when it comes to lubricants industry, and I've been trying to reiterate this for a long time, that lubricants is not just a commodity, it's not just an oil. It is still at the end of day a brand-oriented business. That's why it's very similar to FMCG business, and therefore when it comes to, like you said, supply or price. Now, if you're a brand, it is going to be your supply side of things, right? People are not going to change their oil, for example, API grade, and they're not going to change their brand just because one of the products is more expensive. No, it's all of the products are going to be expensive. It's not like if one brand is expensive, the second isn't, or the third isn't. Yes, the multinationals might keep a slightly more premium because of their overheads, but brand-oriented people and overall the global-oriented market of lubricant users are going to stay suffice on the stock availability. So stock is going to be the biggest point. Second important part is now when you come on to the, I would say, commodity side of the business, if you're just selling base oil or if you're just selling finished lube without a brand, without OEM recommendations, without API approvals, yes, then price is going to play a big factor. So it is very important how you place yourself in the market, where you place yourself in the market, and what sort of a market are you sitting at. And I would like to say, and I would really agree to what Eric is saying, UAE is one of the best places to be sitting at because of the fact that your global base oil, Group 3, if you look at the global markets, like Mr. Nikhil was saying, most of the international markets have no product. There's no supply. And yes, we have difficulties. Yes, we're not able to get it across that fast. And as Lutfi said, you can't give a quotation because prices are changing. There's a variable price change every day. But at least we have availability. At least we have stock. At least we can get the product out. So considering those factors, I think it is, and your question is double-ended, right? So, and I'm the wrong type of guy because I sell a brand product. So what you ask me, I'm going to say, yeah, it's a supply problem. It's not a price problem.
So absolutely. Thank you for your input, Wazahat. So practically we all are sailing in the same boat, right? It's not that, one individual is getting higher price or one individual is getting lower price, but all said and done, there are two types of players in the market who are having long-term contracts with base oil suppliers where they get, as Nikhil said, advantage of $100 to $200 per ton, which is practically a saving for them right now. But the spot buyers, like Eric said, you call trader and then in couple of hours the truck used to be there. So those kind of things have become a very big challenge. And also what you are saying is that Group 3, which practically moves out from Strait of Hormuz to the world from Middle East, constitute between 30 to 45% of the entire global volume of Group 3. So yes, since it's not moving, probably Eric also said, Nikhil also said, and Lutfi also pointed out that it is more challenging for the European as well as the USA blenders right now to produce high quality so-called full synthetic lubricants. But coming back to our discussion, Wazahat, how are the customers reacting in the real terms? Are they switching or delaying or securing more inventory?
To be very honest, I would say in a wholesome, I wouldn't be talking about any particular company or brand. I would just say from what we see in different parts of the world and what we're hearing from different parts of the world, that people are definitely loyal to their lubricant brand when it comes to a top brand, right? I mean, if you have, just to give you an example, if you have a vehicle which is under warranty, it goes to your garage, wherever your car's warranty is based out of. They are not going to switch because their OEM manufacturer approvals are particularly for that product. So if someone is trying to say that yes, people are going to start switching just because the price of one product is going up, and second, I'd like to rephrase again, it is not one brand or one product which is getting hit. It is the market. It is the global market. Those people who cannot provide product will have issues of switching. But when it comes to and again, it comes to the consumer, right? If you're selling in a very price sensitive market, they will obviously switch. If you're selling in a more, I would say, well established market, they are going to stick to their brand. Yes, they're going to cause difficulty to their distributor or difficulty to their blender or difficulty to their brand by saying, look, the prices are higher. But at the end of the day, they are going to have to conquer. And it's not that one person is trying to just, increase his pricing. It is the whole market. It is not me or you or anyone else. It is everybody together. So yeah, I believe the customers at the end of the day will have to understand. I mean, today your fuel price gets increased. Do you go to the petrol station and say, no, I want it cheaper? You can't do much.
No, I fully agree with you, Lutfi. But if you look at the fuel part of it, fuel part is not a brand-driven much part. If the fuel is not available at one station, you'll go down to another fuel station, definitely. But yes, coming to lubricant, the brand loyalty play slightly more effect on the end consumer. And looking at the current circumstances, you said it right, since we are all sailing in the same boat, but probably the effect to few of the brands, you mentioned the brand which lost the capacity of 1.7 million tons of GTL Group 3. So probably the effect will be on the availability of the stock of a certain brand, which probably, it's a situation which nobody expected.
I mean,
We have to
Bhupinder,
learn for your
I would like,
valuable
I
inputs.
would like to say, global players, obviously, or any of the multinationals would. It's not just that they're reliant upon one refining, right? It is, like I said before, the end of the day, the consumer is going to adjust himself. And globally, we're going to see that if the prices of all, lubricants are going to increase, they have to adjust. There is no two ways that there is one commodity which would be more expensive or another commodity that would be much more cheaper. But again, it is the market that you're working in. Now, globally, multiple markets have different criteria that they work on. So if I am working in a market which is price sensitive, yes, I would lose customers. If you're working in a market where they're not that price sensitive, you won't. So, but I would like to reiterate that the most important thing is supply, is not pricing, but it's actual supply of product being available, having the brand exist, having the bottle exist. If you do not have a product in the market, then let's say your prices are low or high, what's the point? Then what are you selling? If you're not selling anything, if your product's not in the shop, then what are you selling?
Yeah, I also would
Thank you for
argue
your
that now
valuable
it's much easier to sell because before I grew up in the buyer's market and it was very difficult that they even hear you out. Nowadays they come to you and now you can prove yourself. If your quality is bad, then bad things will happen after. But if he sees that your product is good enough, and even his old supplier will come back with a price tag 30% higher than you, then you have the chance of your lifetime. It is what it is. And you are now positioned in the best place in the world. It is not the perfect, it is very disrupted like everything else, but it's the best place in the world. There is no better place. And you can go now to Malaysia and make an excellent business there because every single distributor is out of stock. I don't know how much better of a chance you need to, to benefit out of it right now.
So, Eric, you are saying that there's a practically shortage of additives over there in Malaysian markets?
Not additives, the finished product. Additives are short also, but what I see at the moment, I'm publishing, by the way, on my LinkedIn some of the insights. They start to substitute. They start to substitute with things which they don't know. Maybe their supplier is making a mistake. And then they get quality issues. They get quality issues more and more often. This is my chance. Yeah, my chance is there. But your chance as a lubricant brand, and it doesn't matter which one, if you're acting in the aftermarket sales, the difficulty all the time was to convince somebody to test your product, to give you a chance. Now they come to you. It is now a seller's market. If you have stock, they come to you sooner or later. Even if they're people which before they didn't even consider asking somebody. Now they are listening to you. This is the chance. This is the chance. Be a little bit positive about the situation. Compare yourself to the rest.
So, Eric, what you are suggesting is that currently the entry barriers which were there earlier for several brands are less, and right now there's a chance for brands who have the supply chain working or the product availability to reach to their end customer, which was earlier slightly difficult, right?
I can give you a simple example. Nowadays, I think everybody of us are getting marine oil inquiries. When was the last time somebody begged you to give you marine oils? This was impossible. Nowadays, they come to you, and now you can prove yourself. Just don't make mistakes. They will understand the difference. If there is a technical difference between what Shell was supplying and now you are bringing him, he will be upset. And this is not your friend anymore. But if you will do the things right now, then you have chance of a lifetime.
Absolutely, absolutely. But what you're saying is the chances right now are more brighter than earlier. Thank you for your inputs, Eric. Moving on to my next question to Lutfi. Before moving on, for the interest of larger audience and participants who are there in the webinar, request is if you have any questions right now, you can write your questions and our moderators will take care of those questions and push it across to us. And if time permits, the webinar will last for 45 minutes. And if time permits, we'll take next 15 minutes, last 15 minutes, we'll take it for questions and answers. Over to Lutfi. Mr. Lutfi, based on what you are seeing across the industry, what approaches are being used to maintain continuity, more flexible formulation, alternative sourcing, or redesigning? Over to you, Lutfi.
So you need to be creative and very dynamic and find solutions. So there is the short-term solution, there's a long-term solution. A lot of changes should happen on a long term to sustain such crisis. Hopefully, there's no other crisis coming, but increasing inventory is important and strategic today. Being able to have additional storage. From our side, we were lucky to build a terminal in Jabal Ali, which will serve for base oil but also chemical business. So we'll have this flexibility. Other things that you should do is being very transparent and very close to the clients. So I remember from the first days, maybe the third or fourth day, we sent a letter to our clients immediately telling them that we are entering a turbulence zone. Price increase will potentially happen in 30 days. We send a notice and we explain the disruption and all the details. And after that, weekly, we had to send letters to give them updates of available ports and etc. etc. So being close to the partner, being transparent, explaining everything, and something that Wajah had said very well. This crisis is a very good test to see if the clients are loyal to the brand or not. And I encourage other blenders that did not do it yet. I know that there was a shift that happened in the past 10 years. Blenders focused more on make lubricants a brand, taking care of the brand, the appearance, but also the approvals and all the seriousness behind it. If they did not start this exercise, to start it immediately, because we see loyalty. We see clients supporting us, renewing their orders because they have a market for it. They're understanding the complications and the global crisis. It's a global price increase. we might have a disadvantage because of freight, but this will balance itself at one point. There will be a new reality, a new equilibrium. So another thing I would also encourage people to use, we have infinite tools, AI tools today that can help in all aspects. So also this is something to be considered. But yeah, this is what we're doing today, and we're trying to navigate through this crisis. And hopefully it's gonna end soon with the new reality of prices and freight reality as well.
Thank you, Lutfi, and I agree with you. The two main things which you are doing, that you have preempted the challenge and you have informed your customers well in advance that this is the situation which may arise, and ultimately it arrives.
Yeah.
And the second thing is you are increasing your storage capacity so that you are able to serve for a little longer time to your customer. Excellent inputs. Thank you, Lutfi. Moving on to my next question to Nikhil. Nikhil, what strategies are actually working today in securing base oil supplies? Over to you, Nikhil, for your inputs.
Yeah, see, we have a very fruitful discussion and a lot of points come out. I'll just brief you. Main challenges which are happening currently is the logistic management. The entity who can manage it well is doing very well on this part, and as Eric also told, they are well placed and they are managing well on their logistic movement. So that is a win-win situation. So what is happening? Main challenge is bringing the material in and taking it out of the country. These are the two main challenge. And whoever could able to manage these two things, they are running very well. And that's why you see ball is rolling for those entities. Same thing is happening on the group 3 part, which you discuss. Europeans can get material from Korea, or US can get material from Korea, or ExxonMobil could able to make group 3s in US, which is maintaining the group 3 levels there in Latin America and US side. So that is managing, but as you go and see the publications which are coming, we have two majors and you see the numbers. There is $800, $700 difference in pricing from Middle East and Europe and US. So our blenders here in Middle East have a very great advantage on fully synthetic and synthetic products. And that premium product can be shipped at a higher logistic cost. That cost can be absorbed. And that's why we are seeing a good movement of premium category of product from Middle East. Lower category group 1 products will not be able to absorb the logistic cost, which has gone up by around 60%, 70%, even 100% to few countries. And that is a major challenge which is coming up for the blenders in Middle East, because see, there are around 200,000 containers lying in Jebel Ali port. I think all of gentlemen sitting here, they must have pulled back their containers from Jebel Ali after the start of incident. And still a lot of inventory is lying there and people are bleeding, but there is not a single container movement happening. Only 2 vessels moved. MSC, those 2 are standing in UAE, in Middle East waters. So it's a big challenge to take the material out of the UAE and to bring inside. Inside we have availability group 3 and group 1. So that is rolling the stuff here in Middle East, and blenders are managing. And what is happening on the right of Strait of Hormuz is closed, but left side is open. So we have Iraq, we have Yemen, Syria, Kuwait, Qatar. All these markets are accessible for UAE blenders. So that is also helping the current fraternity here who can manage the inventories, or you can sell their lubricants to this part. And we have bottleneck for exit. So that is happening via Sohar or Khor Fakkan or Saudi. And these 3 outlets for the export are helping entire our lubricant industry in UAE.
Thank you for your inputs, Nikhil. Nikhil, how much is the cost increase? You said, 40, 30, 60, sometimes 100 also, on these components, like freight is one component, insurance is another, then financing is another. So looking at all these cost increases, how much of them is being absorbed and how much of them is passed on?
I give you one example of Nigeria. That container cost was around $2,000 per 20 feet. Now it is $12,000. So you can understand the gap, what is happening, how much increase has happened. Moreover, more challenge is sending it from exit. Exit is Korfakan or Sohar or Saudi. That is a big challenge. Land movement from UAE to Sohar or to Saudi, that is also Red Sea. So you have to cross entire Saudi. So it is building up a tremendous cost. So what is happening, you will not see much movement of lower category of products, SA 40, 50 or 20 blue 40 will not make much inroads. You will see high premium grade, fully synthetic products movement, and where you can charge premium and that cost can be absorbed. Or the brand who wants to roll and want to feed the distributors, they will take a hit on the cost and they will try to maintain the supply chain just for the visibility of the brand. So both sides is happening now currently.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your valuable inputs, Nikhil. Moving on to Eric. Eric, my question to you is, how is the additive side adapting? Are we seeing more flexible systems or continued reliance on standard packages?
No, as I said, our business is more or less stable if you have a good supply, of course. If you were buying through traders, you will probably struggle now a lot because you need good supply agreements. But if this is in place, you will get everything. Of course, additional cost, but this is nothing near to what the other people are facing. We are talking here about 30%, 40% more. This is nothing.
And Eric, is there increasing pressure to reduce the treat rates or lower costs? And what risk does that create?
No, people all across the board are getting creative. We believe that this is not the right approach. We better, even if we get into the situation, we will probably better don't accept orders than getting in this field. We are seeing a lot of additive brands now doing very questionable things, let's say. And I think this is very, very dangerous. You should not do this. Especially in the additive part. If a lubricant blender is substituting there something, what is the worst thing what can happen? NOAC goes off, something minor will change. At the end of the day, this is acceptable. But on the additive side, I wouldn't play around. Me personally.
Very good. Thank you for your input. Moving on to my next question. The time right now is exactly 1:43 and we have only 2 more minutes for the webinar. Wazahat, my last question is to you. How is the market managing customer expectations under the uncertainty? Are we seeing prioritization or allocation shift? Over to you, Wazahat.
Microphone. You're
Yeah,
muted.
this is a very company to company oriented question, right? Now, depends on each company how they want to praise their customers, because I believe if it was up to me, if I was saying on my personal opinion, I would obviously like to work with my customers who would understand the value. And like Eric said, nobody wants to do any type of changes to their formulations. Everybody wants to make sure they're providing the right product. And when you're working on a top tier market and you're selling a brand, the most important thing is to make sure of brand availability. And your customers at this side are all definitely, because it's a value chain. Your consumer takes it very long to understand that why the prices are going high. When even though they're ready to take the prices of fuel, but they're not ready to take the prices of lubricants at that same point, because they say you should have stock, you should have etc., etc., etc. But one major point which lubricant we're talking about today in supply chain, right? One thing which we haven't spoken about is plastic. If you think about the plastic supplies, we have not even spoken about it. That is a big reality that we're not talking about. Your overall expenses on plastic are going to become far more superior because they're also coming from petrochemical refineries. Your base oils have definitely gone up, like Nikhil said. Your additives are obviously going to go up as well because of the petrochemical refineries. So it is an overall scenario, and at this point it is very straightforward. You go and you sit down with your customer and you tell him, look, it's not me, it's not B, C, D, it's all of us. We're all increasing prices. You have a consumer who is ready to buy your products because this brand has a brand loyalty, and therefore the most important angle is not to think about price but to think about product. Today, if you have product in any part of the world, like we heard from Ilma, that 0W20 or 5W30 does not need, or I don't know, I'm slightly forgetting. Maybe someone else can help me out here. But on the API regulations, there's a bit of ease from Ilma, and Ilma they said. So does that mean that there's going to be a shortage? Probably. So what should you be doing? Making sure your product is across. And when your product is across and other people are not having the product across, that's when you get market share. So it's not about price, it's about availability.
Thank you, Wazahat, for your input. Definitely, it's all game of supply and demand. And let me ask each one of you about one final question. Based on your experience and what you are seeing in the current scenario, what is the single biggest risk in the industry which is being underestimated today? Probably, Lutfi, you'd like to answer this? That based on your experience and what you're seeing, what is the single biggest risk that the industry is underestimating today?
The biggest risk would be for this disruption to continue for unlimited period and to extend to further time, because we've seen the crude today where it went. Politically, things are moving. I don't want to talk if it's going positively or negatively. So again, more uncertainty kills and makes the supply chain very difficult for us. So that would be the major problem today if it continues. I cannot think of something else. Otherwise, if we reach a new equilibrium with new exits, ports, and the price that stabilize the new base oil, we can manage base oil increase for everyone. Additives suppliers should find a solution. Some majors are declining to supply. We have our own ways, alternatives, etc. But yeah, if we reach a new reality, okay. If it is still uncertain for a long period, it's a disaster for blenders in UAE.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Lutfi. Nikhil, what according to you?
See, in the current context, as per me, securing Group 3 is the biggest challenge for global lubricant industry. There is a major disruption. 2 refineries are out of production. And as you know, Castrol already moved 3 or 4 of their main brands for fully synthetic. So that trend is happening globally. There will be huge demand for Group 3 grades. Europe is already touching 3,000. US is at 2,700. So you see, whoever is having Group 3 stock, you can understand the value addition that guy will be making.
Absolutely, absolutely. And over to you, Eric. Would you like to add on to this question?
I would agree with Nikhil. The worst thing what can happen now is if you run out of stock. When your opportunity wave will come, or you find a very good customer and you cannot supply him, or worse, even worse, the worst case scenario is if your distributor inside the country run out of stock, then you need to understand he will be overrun of competition and your customers will reorientate themselves. This is the biggest risk, what I see.
Agreed, fully agreed. Wazahat, any addition you want to add on to the?
I think my colleagues have answered it very well. I agree with what Lutfi is saying, and I agree thoroughly with Eric and Nikhil that these are the 2 most important things. And more importantly, I would hope we just get peace. That's all. That's on my end. I would say the last thing is we do not need any new equilibrium. We do not need any new changes. We believe that we need peace. And we're part of this world. That's all of us colleagues or anyone who's watching this wants peace, and hopefully all of these things will go back to square one.
Thank you, Wazahat. And let me leave you with one final thought. What we are seeing today is not just disruption, it is exposure. Exposure of how dependent the system is on the stability, of how limited flexibility becomes, of where the real bottleneck exists. And that changes everything. Resilience is no more optional. Flexibility is no longer a competitive edge. They have become basic requirements to survive. And those who cannot adapt across supply chain formulations and market response will find it increasingly difficult to complete. Thank you to your all panelists for excellent insights, and thank you everyone who joined us today. This brings to end of our webinar. I hand over to Callum.
Thank you very much to all of our panelists for joining us. There was some truly excellent insights there and given us all an awful lot to think about. Just to let you know there in the audience that the recording of the webinar will be made available via our website. So please do keep an eye out for that. For those of you that don't know, I'm pleased to say that Lubricant Expo Middle East will be returning in 2027. That will be the 13th to the 15th of April at the World Trade Center. So we look forward to seeing you all there. And in the meantime, stay safe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.